with Larry with some analysis. Hey, what do you think of the decisions?
Yeah, hey Kent. What among the surprises is that Gorsuch and Kavanaugh were on board with the so-called liberal decision here against Trump. So I don't know if that's the way they really believe, if they're continuing to make efforts not to be cast as Trump's boys. But lately, there have been several Supreme Court decisions that were unfavorable to Trump,
Right, right.
and votes being cast by his appointees.
What did you think about the decisions themselves? I thought they seemed pretty reasonable to me,
Yeah,
especially the congressional one. I mean,
Yeah, they were. Well, even the prosecutorial one, that was actually pretty much decided during the Nixon tape
yeah,
handover by the Supreme Court. So it kind of reaffirms that. And with the congressional inquiry, they have to go back to a lower court. There are some restrictions the Supreme Court is saying are necessary. You have to know specifically what you're after. You have to state that, et cetera, which also seems reasonable. But I find perhaps the most significant implication here, according to one of the analysts that you just ran on, that by implication, it means that a sitting president can also be indicted.
I did.
Now,
Right.
I disagree with that because the Constitution specifically states that a sitting president may be removed through impeachment in the House, conviction in the Senate. He can be prosecuted after he leaves office, but now not while in office. Now, there's those that argue that, well, it's an open question since it wasn't mentioned either way whether they could be indicted. But traditionally, that's been the reading on that a sitting president may not, and should not be indicted. And I don't think they should, Kemp, because you start indicting sitting presidents. You see what's going on now in the past 4 years with Trump. After him, tooth and nail, either with good cause or without good cause. But the overall problem here is that it opens up the presidency to all kinds of political partisan attacks to get rid of him, but by whichever party has the votes to do that. And it also makes the office of the presidency much less stable. So I hope this is not an outcome eventually of this Supreme Court ruling. I think it'd be very bad for the country to be able to remove a sitting president through indictments.
But I mean, what if the president, the classic argument, what if Trump goes on Fifth Avenue
And
and
shoot
kills
somebody.
somebody? What
Yeah.
happens?
Okay, what happens there is that unless Congress, both houses of Congress are out of their minds, then they would immediately impeach and remove him. So no problem there.
Well, I mean, what if they are out of their minds? I mean, what if they are, controlled by the Republicans? And I mean, it's really a loophole, don't you think?
I don't think so, Kent, because again, in balance there, I think the effect would be bad. It would diminish the stability of the office. Now, don't forget, the U.S. and throughout all its history has been much more stable, and the transitions of power between administrations have been constantly peaceful because it is hard, constitutionally designed to be hard to remove a sitting president other than impeachment and conviction. If you start doing it through indictments and removing them at the result of a criminal investigation while they're still in office, it opens it up to all kinds of political manipulations by either side.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you on that, but I mean, again, it's still the murder thing is still out there.
Well,
If they,
maybe if he maybe if he wins a second term, he'd be so emboldened that that might happen. So then
right,
we'll be discussing that for a while if that happens. Hey,
right, right.
what's interesting too is, do they now have to give Oklahoma back to the Indians? With that,
Oh, on the decision. Yeah, I know.
they
Yeah,
said it's all
we'll see.
Indian country, taken
Yeah,
unfairly from them because there was a treaty in place. So what happens now? Do the Indians agitate to take over the state?
possibly. I mean, theoretically, I mean, a treaty is a treaty, right?
And the Supreme Court affirmed that it was all Indian land. It still is owned by the Indians, including Tulsa.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so
wonder
that could
what's
be
going to
interesting.
happen when they go to Manhattan. I mean,
Yeah, that's
Manhattan,
right.
that was a
That's right.
bad deal that we gave the Indians.
Yeah. Well, all New York
Uh,
State, for that matter, where you live, Kent. Then what
right,
happens?
right,
Are you ready to give
right.
your land and your house back to an Indian chief who says that you displaced his ancestors a couple of generations ago?
Do what I have to do for the cause. I guess. All right, talk to you next week.
All right.
Be good.
See you then.
Yeah.